Welcome to Snooze Worthy, a podcast by Parenting Practice of Colorado, your window into the world of pediatric sleep, where we explore the science behind sweet dreams, effective sleep teaching techniques, and all the intriguing nuances of your child's slumber. I'm your host, Lindsay Birchfield.
And I'm Paige Legault. Together, we're here to guide you through the labyrinth of parenting, offering insights, strategies, and science-backed advice to make parenting during those early childhood years not just manageable, but truly memorable.
As pediatric sleep specialists, we've seen the transformational power of sleep in countless families.
And because parenting is a journey, we won't stop at sleep. We'll provide you with valuable parenting tips for every aspect of early childhood, from managing tantrums to fostering creativity and hitting those all-important milestones.
So whether you're a seasoned parent in need of a sleep overhaul or a new parent preparing for the joys and challenges of early childhood, Snooze Worthy is your trusted resource. Join us as we unravel the science of sleep, share practical advice, and make parenting truly snooze-worthy. Hi, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to Snooze Worthy, guys.
Woohoo! Today we are super excited to be talking about the fourth trimester and specifically our journeys with our children in the fourth trimester, particularly regarding sleep. So today we're going to jump first and foremost into talking about my story with my daughter and how her sleep journey went and how it inspired me to get where we are today. Yeah. And then we'll just jump into your story as well, because I think it's important for families to know that our stories looked a little bit different, but that the outcomes were similar. And it's one of the reasons why we are as passionate as we are about sleep and prioritizing sleep from as early as possible, because you can change the trajectory of what sleep will look like for your children. So I mentioned this in our first episode, but I have two kiddos. So I have a 5-year-old, her name is Riley, and then I have a 2.5-year-old, his name is Jack. And when I was pregnant with Riley, I was actually in business consulting. So I was consulting for big 500 or Fortune 500 companies. I was traveling a lot. But something to know about me is I love to learn. I'm that person where you give me a book, you give me a podcast, and I will sit there and talk about, I can focus with that. I want to learn new things. And so being pregnant, I knew that I knew nothing about becoming a parent. I didn't know what it was like to raise children, but I wanted to try to educate myself. And I think any parent knows that even if you try to educate yourself when you're pregnant or before you have children, once they get here, it's totally a different story. But nonetheless, I was like, okay, I'm going to do what I can. And I love to sleep. It's one of the things. I'm a good sleeper. I'm a sound sleeper. And for me, my head hits the pillow, I'm out, and I sleep for a solid, 7-8 hours every single night. And so the thought that I was going to have a baby and it was going to disrupt sleep for, months and years was just like, no, I cannot do that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to read the books. I'm going to do the things. And luckily, I had a sorority sister that was a sleep specialist. And so she was offering a course on newborn sleep when I was pregnant with Riley. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to take this. I'm going to educate myself the best I can and then do what I can when she arrives. So I took this newborn sleep course. And what I learned during that was sleep is a skill. It's something that we can help to nurture within our children. I've learned that some children have more of a knack for this skill. Other children need a little bit more support. But nonetheless, there's things that we can do as parents to help really set a good foundation so our child can learn the skill of sleep. And so that was super cool because guess what? I learned something new, which I love to learn. And it was something I could have some actions towards when Riley arrived. So I had Riley. I started implementing a lot of the tips and tricks that I learned in that newborn sleep course. And lo and behold, when she turned 8 weeks, it was 8 weeks to the day, that girl slept 12 hours. So 8 weeks, 12 hours, I was like, oh my goodness. Just because I had not realized, even for 8 weeks of sleep deprivation and fragmented sleep, what it had done to me. Right? My levels of stress and anxiety, how I felt physically, my recovery, all of that. Right? And so I was like, this is literally magical. Now, 8 weeks is early for a baby to sleep through the night. Right?
Riley's a unicorn, guys.
She's a true unicorn. So I don't say this to make anybody feel like their 8-week-old needs to be sleeping 12 hours.
Right.
But what I did know is that there was foundational things that I could do to help her get to that point. And so that really spurred me to keep kind of myself educated on sleep in general. And so I continued to kind of modify her schedule for her age. I continued to, use routine. I continued to just be aware of how sleep was impacting her, the totals during the day, her mornings, all of those type of things, feeding, how it played into all of it as well. And lo and behold, she continued to progress. We got through the 4-month sleep regression, nothing at all. Now she's 5. She's been through the 2 years sleep regression. She's moved from a crib to a bed.
She's traveled all over the place.
Traveled around the world. We've gone through daylight savings. Illnesses, all these different things. And she continues to be a rock star sleeper. And that in and of itself, just in those early months, just made me passionate about sleep. And so I was just always joking that I was going to move from business consulting to being a sleep consultant. But what happened was I just decided this was a passion. I don't want parents to have to be sleep deprived and think that that is a badge of honor. When you're a parent, you're so supposed to be sleep deprived. It's okay. I don't need the sleep. My child doesn't need a sleep. It's a phase. When in fact we know it can be just foundational from day one so that they can get good quality sleep as early as possible, and you can get good quality sleep as early as possible, and you can all be the best versions of yourself. And there's just so much magic that happens during sleep for the brain and the body that I think that's what makes me even more excited.
Bonding, which I feel like, as Lindsay and I have done this for as many years as we have, a lot of our clients feel like they have to choose between sleep, breastfeeding,
absolutely,
or attachment, and it's just not true. And with all 3 of our children, who are all beautiful sleepers, right? And boy, they're all different. So
very much so.
It doesn't have to be this one size cookie cutter scenario. You can thrive in your 4th trimester. You can thrive in the first year of your baby's life. If you have the tools and support that you need. And you did that. You educated yourself, and it paid off in spades. I mean, look at you, where we are now.
Right?
You're a business owner in the sleep world.
Exactly. And we've helped hundreds of
families. Yep. It's incredible. And Riley, if there's anything to be said about her, she just is a unicorn. Like, truly.
She loves unicorns, and she is a unicorn.
She definitely
That girl's got a special thing about her for sure. She's got a sparkle.
She is. She does have a sparkle. I love that, Riley girl. So my journey with my daughter, I only have one kiddo. She just turned 3. And my experience with her was definitely different because I was pregnant throughout the pandemic. So she's technically a pandemic baby, which is their own species, I feel like.
They really
a little
are.
bit. Yeah. And so for me, going through the pregnancy journey was so much of a letdown. Not gonna lie, I didn't have any person visits. I wasn't allowed to have a doula or a midwife, which I absolutely would have done. I didn't love my labor and delivery. That's a story for another day. But when I came home with her, I had already been trained through Sleep Sense. So I had a path of what to do and what was normal and what wasn't normal, and just these little benchmarkers that I felt like were enough that I could get her to where Riley was. Not necessarily by 8 weeks, but by 12 weeks. And hopefully before the 4-month trimester was my goal. And my other goal, which is another thing that's different between our kids, is how we fed them. You have a bottle fed baby, you have a combo fed baby, and I have an exclusively breastfed baby. So we've done it all, folks. And so for Maddie, I really wanted to be able to have that longevity of a nursing journey with her. But I still knew the same way how you felt of like, I cannot function without 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I was terrified for my mental health, for my marriage, for my business, for my baby. And I just knew that I wasn't willing to sacrifice any of that to be sleep deprived and to put that on my baby. And at that point, I was serving clients. I had already had 100 clients under my belt, so I knew what was possible. So when she arrived, we got home from the hospital and we started from day 1 with laying some really solid, healthy foundations. And then I started to feel like, I think there's more that I can do. but I don't know what it is. So, of course, I contacted you and I was like, what do we do here? And we brainstormed a little bit, and I just started to write a plan like I would for a client.
Yeah.
And I approached this as like my husband doing the work and me stepping back and me coaching him, just like I would with a client. And guys, it worked beautifully.
Yeah, get those partners involved.
Yeah, please.
It can really change the tune too. I think that's one of our number one tips early on.
100%.
Lean into your partner.
Well, and if you don't have a partner, any other support system, grandparents, best friends, aunties, uncles, whatever, but find someone who knows you and loves you and can support you in the ways that you need. And that's a big piece here. So he started to do a little bit more management around the sleep. We started implementing this plan, and then all of a sudden the sleep farm was born.
Yeah.
And so what the sleep farm is it's a 12-week guide that we support you through, or you can do it on your own. We have two options, but every week you have a little goal that you start to implement. So it's not sleep training. It's just laying healthy foundations to avoid sleep training in the long run. Yeah. So Jack and Maddie both went through the sleep farm. They were both sleeping between 10 and 12 weeks of age. And Maddie was able to stay in my room in her bassinet till she was 8 months old. And then I nursed her successfully till she weaned herself at 18 months old. But she was sleeping through the night at 12 weeks of age in her bassinet. And it totally turned around my early journey in parenting. And I was able to show up as the mom that I had dreamed about my whole life for her. And I was also to really prioritize my mental health and the aspects that I wanted to work through for my girl. And I got that nursing journey, and I just was blown away at this beauty. And then you did it with Jack, and we slowly started to put the sleep farm out into the world. And we've had so many beautiful cases of all these newborns who are colicky, refluxy, gassy, tongue and lip ties, which all of our children are. And so on. And so it doesn't just have to be, you have to have the perfect baby to fit this mold in the sleep farm. I promise you, none of them show up how you expect.
No. And even if you have two, like I do, they are the most different human beings that could exist. And so although Riley was a little bit of a unicorn, just in general, and with her sleep, Jack took a little bit more intention.
He did.
Right. Yeah. Had to be a little bit more prescriptive with what I did, show up for him in a different way, but the same thing. We all used the same goals. We worked at it slowly over the first 12 weeks of their life, and it came together for what it needed to come together like for them. So it is something that can be used no matter who your baby is, right? We're all different. Our babies are different. We want to meet them where they're at, and the sleep farm does that beautifully. And it's cute because it is all little farm animals, and every kid loves farm animals.
It's so cute. And the nice thing about the sleep farm too is that there's no pressure. Right now I have a current sleep farm baby who is fully diagnosed as colic, silent reflux, and gas, and just all the things. And we paused. I said, we got to work on these things first.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's where we need to go. Here's who we need to talk to, chiropractic care, pediatric care, all that good stuff. And we can pick up when baby's doing better, but I'm giving mom the tools and resources in the interim to be able to clean things up. Right? Yeah. And when you're in that fourth trimester, we go through such a metamorphosis.
Yes.
When that baby enters earth, comes earthside, you change in the most beautiful ways possible, but it's undescribable. Like, how do you even prepare yourself for that?
You can't.
No. You have to physically feel it. And now you have a baby who you don't know, and they don't know you. And so it's, yes, you have to bond, and you have to feed, and you have to change, but you also have to recover mentally and emotionally. And the only way to actually do that is to sleep. And it's so counterintuitive. And I remember feeling like when I brought Maddie home, like angry, that all of this was on me. I carried you. I delivered you. I'm recovering. And now I have to feed you. And if I want your dad to feed you, which of course I do, I have to pump to give him the milk to give to you.
Right.
It's so counterintuitive.
It is. Yeah.
And I just felt like this is so much on a woman's shoulders.
So much.
There's no balance here.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the aspect of like, well, you better bounce back. And when are you going back to work? And all the other stuff that society puts on us, you can really go down a rabbit hole very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
And I found that for both of us, having the sleep puzzle piece in there made everything else manageable.
I agree.
And even enjoyable.
Yes.
It was great.
It really did just change the dynamic of the experience. And I always say the newborn phase is hard.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, how beautiful your birth story was or wasn't, how supportive your spouse is or not. It is a difficult season. There's, of course, so much beauty in it too. But it's hard. And I think sometimes as women, we are asked to show up in a way that's not realistic, to pretend it's all beautiful and sunshine and rainbows, but it's not. And there's difficult parts of that. But as you have your community around you, if you have the education that you need, and when you can get certain things kind of in order, sleep being one of them, it really can just turn that experience kind of upside down to really reveal the true beauty of what it is to be a mother and to know who your kids are and to be able to meet them where they need to be met. And I think that's another thing with sleep is when you start to understand the process of sleep and how it works and the cues from your child, you learn to know your child better and to meet them where they really are instead of trying to guess what they need. And that's the one thing I have found too with my children is getting that sleep and the feeding, phase established early on. Those were two really big areas of need that obviously a baby has. But when you can figure out what that looks like for your child, that's half the battle.
It is.
It just really is. And so it makes the process so much more straightforward. You're not just trying to guess all the time. I don't know how to meet the need of my child, but you know exactly how to do that.
100%. Yep. So the goal of the Sleep Farm is to support and educate first and foremost about sleep and just the fourth trimester in general. Because you don't know, we don't know.
So true.
That's going to be our tagline, I think.
Yeah.
And then also prioritize feeding, no matter how you choose to feed your baby, fed is best. And also attachment, because that's our biggest fear is what if my baby doesn't attach to me? I'm a horrible mother, right? I didn't do enough. And that guilt and that shame is just, it can suffocate you. So that is where the Sleep Farm was born. And it has been such a gift, not only for both of us in our homes, but for our clients. And we would just love to share this more with the general community so they don't have to suffer through. And so if you are in your third trimester or you already are in your fourth trimester, reach out to us for support because this is definitely a passion for both of us is these little nuggets and just working with these mamas in that fourth trimester. We all prefer different age ranges for different reasons, and it's not like one is better than the other, but it just lights us up in a different way. And Lindsay loves these little nuggies. Anything else?
No, I think that's great, but I'm super excited in future episodes to start talking a little bit about more formal sleep teaching, as we like to say. This is kind of our bread and butter. The beginning of sleep training or the ages in which babies can begin learning that skill of independent sleep is one of my areas I really love. I love those 3 to 6 month olds. And so I'm excited to start talking about just sleep teaching in general and specifically our approach at parenting practice.
Me too. All right. We'll see you guys next time.